If you're going on a Caribbean cruise and you want to make sure that you have everything that you need and that you do not forget a thing, this is the video for you. I'm going to share with you everything that I am packing for my upcoming Caribbean cruise. This video is updated, as well as some of the optional things that, while not must-haves, you might find them useful for you. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, I actually have everything that I'm going to be packing for my Caribbean cruise right next to me. And something that I found out years ago on my first cruise is that you really want to make sure that you have everything you need, because once you're on the cruise ship, honestly, a lot of things you can't get once you're already on the ship, or if you can find it, it is going to be more expensive. So you really do want to make sure that you are prepared. So I'm going to be sharing all of that with you. And I also am going to be sharing, like, towards the end of the video, I'll share with you a few things that a lot of people forget to pack for a cruise, just to make sure that that is on your cruise packing checklist. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. All right, starting off with something really important, lip balm, and in particular, a lip balm with an SPF. Now, this is actually the lip balm that I am using right now. So it's Neutrogena. It is a tinted lip balm. I'm actually wearing it right now. And honestly, if you've ever had your lips burnt in the Caribbean sun, you definitely want to have this or something else. I just happen to like this because it actually does act like a little bit of a lip gloss almost of sorts. So if you're somebody who likes a little bit of color, it does have an SPF 20. Now, by the way, whenever possible, I am going to leave the links to Amazon down below in the description of this video, as well as a pinned comment. But in some cases, you might find some of the items at the dollar store, or you might even have some at home. Sunscreen. Now, in particular, a reef-friendly sunscreen. Now, I'll be honest with you, I usually bring two sunscreens. I bring a sunscreen to use on the cruise ship, just the brand that I happen to like. But I always bring a reef-friendly sunscreen as well, because some of the different cruise ports, the destinations, actually have laws and rules that you're not able to use the regular one. Aloe vera. Now, do not be caught in the Caribbean sun without having something in case you or somebody else in your family or that you're traveling with get sunburned. It does happen. And you can buy, by the way, an aloe vera type product on the cruise ship. But the last time I was on a cruise, I looked, it was $25. And it was, honestly, it was that sticky gel kind, which I don't like. So this one is organic. It truthfully is the best aloe vera that I have ever tried. It works so well. It dries non-sticky, and it is organic. Mosquito or bug spray. Now, this one is optional, and I'm actually not packing it on this cruise. However, I have brought it before. When I was in Jamaica, we did a river rafting excursion that was on the Martha Brae River. It was amazing, but we knew in advance, because I had researched this, that there are black flies, there are some mosquitoes, and I definitely didn't, I didn't want that. So I was even lending it to other people on our excursion. But if you're going on an excursion that goes into the rainforest or river tubing or anything like that, then you definitely want to pack one. Okay, let's talk about packing cubes. Now, it's a really good idea to stay organized when you're packing with packing cubes. Now, I do suggest that if possible, to get different colors for different people that are traveling with you, because it just makes it easier to organize. And I think in particular for families, because what you can do is you can take your packing cube and, let's say there are t-shirts in here or shorts, you can actually just put that straight onto the shelf in your cabin. And then this way you or your kids or whoever you're traveling with can just pick out your items. Now, these are my original packing cubes. They still work really well, but these days, most of the time, I have been using compression packing cubes. And I have a couple of them. And again, I have different colors of them. But what I like about this is they can be left completely open like that, or, not compressed. But if you do want to save a little bit of space, and especially if you have items that, you're not worried about wrinkling in any way, then you can definitely sort of zip this up, and it is a space saver. Now, please let me know if you are using packing cubes, and if you are, if you prefer the compression ones or the regular. Please let me know down in the comments below. Pack a hanging toiletry bag. Now, this is a case where there is not one size fits all. In fact, I've evolved over the years, so I do want to show you, depending on your circumstance, what you might want to bring. Now, this is the largest hanging toiletry bag. It's a really good size, and just to let you know, in case you haven't seen this before, I think a lot of people have, so I'll try to keep it quick. But what you do have here is you have a hook. You could honestly keep so many items in this. This is great for if you're going on a long cruise, or if you're, traveling with a family and you have quite a lot of items, you can just put everything in here. Now, the other toiletry bag, the size that I usually use, is the medium size, and that works well for me and my husband. However, more recently, what I started to use is this hanging toiletry bag. Now, I have to say, I still like the sort of padded, quilted look of the others. This is definitely more simple, but it is really very functional. And it actually, I brought it on my last 2-week trip when we did a Mexican Riviera cruise, and we did some land, and it was great. So I think it's almost packed up. I actually do have to just make sure I have everything so that I do not forget a thing. Now, by the way, the last one is by the brand Tripped, if I'm not mistaken. And it does come with a couple of different sets. So the one that I got also included this. So if you have other items, that could be something as well, because they do have sets that go together. Now, something that you don't want to forget to pack is a shore excursion bag. Now, I'll show you for the Caribbean, something that I use, very, very simple, is just a mesh beach bag. And a lot of times, you're just going to need not only your beach bag for when you leave the ship, but if you go to the pool, you're going to need this as well. And this one is a good size if you're a family and you've got quite a lot of towels. Otherwise, I will leave another mesh one that I have that is much smaller. But I did want to show you, if you are doing an excursion and you prefer to have a backpack, there is this one. Now, this is when it is open. This is a size, and it actually is expandable, so it's great. But it folds up to this size when it's closed, so it really is perfect. Jewelry. You want to pack your jewelry. Now, something that I've been using more recently is this little jewelry box with these pouches. And what you can do is, especially if you're not bringing very much, is just, put your earrings and some of your items in there. You can even take a couple of pouches, and you can even throw these into your personal bag or your carry-on bag as you're boarding the cruise ship that day. And of course, if you want to bring the whole case, you can do that as well. Now, by the way, if you're getting ready for your cruise and you want to stay organized and make sure that you do not forget a thing, I do have the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner. Now, the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner is a 47-page downloadable printable cruise planner that you could use to stay organized from the time that you book your cruise all the way through embarkation and disembarkation. Now, the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner includes cruise packing lists, shore excursion planning forms, budget planning forms, outfit planning forms, and more. And you can print out only the pages that you want for as many cruises as you go on. Now, I'll leave all of the information about the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner down below in the description of this video in case you want to check it out. All right, so let's talk about when you're off the cruise ship and what you might need, and then we'll come back on the cruise ship. So depending on the excursion, water shoes. Now, not only have we found that sometimes we've used water shoes on an excursion, climbing Dunn's River Falls, or when we were in Aruba, we use them as well. But if you're going to a private island, many private islands, this is something cruise lines are never going to tell you, but it's just the reality. Many private islands, their beaches sometimes are a little bit rocky. So these are very plain, very simple, but they've lasted me, I think it's got to be about 6 years. And honestly, they're much cheaper to buy on Amazon and probably a better quality than if you buy them in the destination. A waterproof phone case on a lanyard. Now, if you're wondering, what do I do with my phone if I go in the water? If I'm doing an excursion, if I'm doing a lazy river, anything like that, you can put your phone in here. But the good thing is you can also put a little bit of cash, your cruise card, and your credit card as well. And then this way, everything stays safe and secure. Now, speaking of safe and secure, I don't think that this is 100% necessary, but if you're somebody who likes to Maybe have your passports with you. And I'll tell you, I keep my passports in the safe in my cabin unless I'm required to bring them with me. We can talk about that in another video, but let me know what you do, passports in cabin or in port. But if you do bring anything with you, this is a little bit larger. It's a waist pouch that is waterproof, and you could even snorkel with it. All right, something for the heat. So a fan. Now, these are my favorite fans. This one is so small. Oh gosh. Okay, it's off now. This one is so small. So this is honestly, this is a favorite for me because it could even go into a little bag, or even if you're bringing a crossbody bag with you, this is great. I know a lot of people love this neck fan. It's just not for me because I just don't love to have something around my neck all the time, but people swear by this. And a new favorite that I really like, this one actually is really good because it's a fan. It's very powerful, and it's also kind of a cooler. So I do think that the cold air that you get from this is more powerful than any other that I've tried. And the neat thing about this one is it does act as a phone charger as well. So if you need a bit of an emergency charger while you're off in port, it does that too. Be sure to pack a sun hat. Now it could be a baseball cap, and this is for women and men, by the way. You want something to cover your head. It really does get hot and sunny, and oftentimes the sun is just stronger when you're, near or on the water. Now, this is a foldable sun hat. Now, this is a visor style, but there are some that are non-visor styles as well. So, without this opening. But the really cool thing is that this actually folds up really small. So if you don't want to wear your sun hat all the time, but you still want to bring it with you and throw it in your beach bag, you can do that. And if you are traveling with your sun hat, or if you just want to have your sun hat with you sometimes, even if you're not always wearing it, this is a hat clip. And what you do is you put this around your bag, and then you just clip your hat in right here. So I'll just show you there. And this actually just attaches to your bag or your carry-on. Now, speaking of bag, I'm bringing this straw bag with me on my Caribbean cruise. And actually, I think it's more of a Bahamas cruise. But in any case, I'm bringing this with me. I really like this one. And I like for the port sometimes to not have something that is very expensive, but that is still something that I think is cute and goes with my, outfits and stuff. And I like that it does not have an open top. It has a zipper. Now, speaking of in the cruise ports of call, you want to have some money, and in particular, some small bills. And by the way, also a credit card, because you never know what can happen. So you want to have a credit card for emergencies. But it's a good idea. Keep small bills with you. If you go to a souvenir shop and you want to buy something that's not expensive, don't rely on them giving you change of like a 50 or 100. So, definitely have some small bills. But also, if you're on the cruise and you want to give some small tips to anybody, you will have that as well. Oh, and yes, in the Caribbean, they will accept US dollars. Now, I do want to share something that is optional, but a friend of mine, when she went on her first cruise, now I guess it's about almost 2 years ago, but she went on her first cruise with her husband and her 2 children, and she told me she brought these. And she said, you know what? These were a lifesaver. Now, these are thin, quick-drying towels that also repel the sand, and she told me she brought 4 of these towels with her when she went off the ship for excursions, because even though you can bring the towels with you from the cruise ship, they are going to get a little bit heavy, and she didn't want to have to carry those around with her, or even have to worry about if she lost one that she would owe like $25. So she absolutely swears by this, but in my view, this is something optional. Now, I got something new recently, and this is called Sand Screen. Now, what you do is you could use this at the beach. And in fact, for my cruise that I'm taking, we also have a few days in Florida. So I am bringing this with me because it drives me crazy to have sand on my feet after I leave the beach, even though I wash them off and everything. So this really does work. You just rub it on your leg, your feet, anywhere that you've got sand, and it wipes it right off and repels any from sticking back on. Flip-flops. Now, you might already have this on your cruise packing list, but somebody reminded me recently of why it's really important to bring these, especially for the Lido deck or the pool deck on a cruise ship. It gets excessively hot. So if you think you're going to go without them, you're trying to pack lighter, no, you know, a thin pair of flip-flops is not going to take a lot of room, and you definitely want to have them. Now, I bought these, and I'll just show you why I like them. They have a little bit of arch support here, and even though they're very inexpensive, and again, I'm going to leave all of the Amazon links down below in the video. These are so comfortable. I ended up, even when I was on my Mediterranean cruise, I had my regular shoes with me, and I actually had these in my bag so I could change into them when my feet got sore. All right, coming back to the cruise ship with some essential items. Motion sickness medication, or really, I always think of it as just something to prevent even seasickness. Now, I swear by Bonine or Bonine. Obviously, you have to choose what is best for you, but this does not make me drowsy. And you can even take this preventatively or otherwise at the very first sign that you have any motion sickness. This is really going to help. Now, if you prefer not to take medication, there is an acupressure band. And to my knowledge, this is new. I've only started to see it this year. I like the idea of this. And what you do is you put it on your wrist and it goes along just like a little pressure point. And people swear by this. And I think it's similar in the way a C-band works, but in my opinion, this is just more comfortable. And of course, if you prefer, the patch is always something that people use and swear by. Now, if you do have a recommendation for what you use for seasickness, or if you've ever used the patch, please do let me know down in the comments below, because I know that is going to be helpful to others. A first aid kit. Now, you can definitely make your own first aid kit, or if you buy one, something like this, make sure that you do stock it up with like some band-aids or blister band-aids just in case. And you also want to pick up just some of your standard over-the-counter medication, even if it's Tylenol or Advil. It is going to be much more expensive on the cruise ship. Liquid IV or something similar to rehydrate. Now, sometimes you're on a cruise, it's hot, maybe you're not sleeping that much, maybe you're drinking a little bit more than usual, and you need something to get your energy back and to rehydrate. So Liquid IV is fabulous. You can just throw that into your water and it can really be helpful. Now, speaking of water, bring a refillable water bottle with you on your cruise. Now, you can actually use this in the cruise port as well, but even on the cruise ship, now water bottles tend to be quite pricey on a cruise, but the water that is on a cruise ship is safe. So if you want to make sure you have water with you like all the time, you can actually just go to the buffet or to like a water filling station if there are any on your cruise ship, and you can just fill this up. And also, tip, make sure that you always have this filled up even in your cabin, because if you're somebody who likes to drink water at night before you go to bed or first thing when you wake up in the morning. Personally, I don't drink the water in the bathrooms. Apparently it is safe, but I like to have regular water with me. Feminine hygiene products. Now, this is something that a lot of people say that they forget to bring on a cruise, or they just don't think it's going to be that time of the month at the time. But sometimes when you're on vacation, things get really wonky. And something that I have found in the past is that on the ship, there might only be like 1 or 2 brands, and it might not be what you really prefer. So be sure to bring your own, even if it technically isn't the time of the month. Towel clips. Now, I actually have my towel clips right in here. I just bought these new ones and I am loving them. I love the size. I bought them in a set of 8. And these are great. And just to let you know, when you're on a cruise, if you just put your towel straight down on your chair, that towel is going to blow away. It is very windy, especially when you're sailing, of course, on a cruise ship deck. But I love these because they're nice and solid, and they are seriously so much better than the thin ones where you see the wires. If you've ever bought those in the past and found that you completely wasted your money, these are a much better quality, and I think they're about the same price. Now, I do also have a set of towel bands, so if you don't have a lot of room for items, towel bands might be more of a space saver for you. But I know a lot of people say what they don't like about towel bands is they're kind of hard to stretch out, and depending on the type of chair that you have, sometimes they don't always fit. So I think this time I'm only going to bring the clips, and I'm going to hope for the best. Now, another cruise essential, but I would say that this is just a travel essential in general, is a portable charger. Now, I like the ones where, I'll show you this new one in a minute, I like the ones where you do have the cables that are attached I think that's really handy, especially when you're traveling, flying, etc. But I recently got this one and I'm loving it. So it is a portable charger. You've got two cables. You've got one here and you've got one there. And the neat thing is not only can you use it when you're traveling, but you can actually use it as a keychain at home as well. I forgot to mention while we were talking about medication, to bring a little, your over-the-counter medication, you could just keep it in here. I really like this pill box. It's magnetic. It's a great size, and you've got, I think it is, you've got a few different compartments. And by the way, they do have this in two sizes. So I only bring the small size, but what some people do is they fill up their big size with more medication, and then they just keep this one filled with just a few items. Now you want something to hold your cruise card or your key card during your cruise. And you always are gonna need your cruise card when you get on or off the ship, or even to get a drink or anything. So you wanna make sure you have that handy. Now I always keep a lanyard with me, even if I unclip it. For instance, this is why this is my favorite. So even if I unclip the lanyard and I keep that in my crossbody bag or in my evening bag, at least I know where it is. And then you have your cruise card in it. Now, what my husband likes is the cruise card holder, and it's a nautical theme. He really likes that. But I am going on a princess cruise, so I did want to show you something. This is kind of cool, so I actually have to stick that on my phone after. But what this does is this goes on the back of your phone, and you could put your medallion in here. And the medallion is about the same size as an air tag. So it goes right in here. And by the way, Princess is the only cruise line that has a medallion instead of a cruise card. Now, here are a few items that I'm bringing for my cruise cabin. So one of them is magnet clips. Now, cruise cabin walls are usually metal. Not all of the ships, but pretty much most of the newer ships are, or even the ships that are like 20 years old, so most of the time. But a lot of people don't really talk about clips, and I like the clips because sometimes you're going to have some paperwork and you're going to want to keep them. Maybe it's invitations to things or the daily planners if you like to get those delivered. So I like these clips. They come in a package like this. I think it's about 12 of them in the package, which works out well. Now, I always bring my heavy duty magnets. Now, that is the trick. For them to be able to hold your items, you want the heavy duty kind. So I always get the kind that are like 80 pounds or more. I think that these are 100 pounds. And you can see they're pretty small. But honestly, one of them is usually able to hold even my backpack. If it's very full, what I actually do is I just kind of put two side by side. A cruise cabin fan. Now, this is not a necessity, but if you're somebody who likes a little bit more air circulation at night, I think that you'll really like this. Now, there are a few different fans, but this is still my favorite fan. I've tried out others. And what I like about it is you can see how thin this is. And it is I always call it like the flat fan, but it's kind of foldable. And this one in particular does last several hours. I've never had a problem with it lasting all night and even more. And then, you can charge it the next day. A non-surge protected power cube. Now, most cruise ships, unless they're really new, most of them are not going to have any USB outlets. So I bring this, and by the way, they're not going to have a lot of electric outlets. So I should have said. This one I really like because you've got 1, 2, 3 electric outlets. You also have USB-A and USB-C ports. And most cruise lines do allow these, but again, they have to be non-surge protected. Now, just to mention, Royal Caribbean and Celebrity, to my knowledge, right now, they're not permitting these. And instead, you can bring a USB, even if it's multi-outlet, it has to be a USB charging hub. Now, the other thing that I do, and it's my little cruise cabin hack, is I actually bring a travel adapter. And you don't need to bring this for a Caribbean cruise, but I just usually have it in my tech items. So this is a hybrid adapter. So it's a great travel adapter, by the way, if you're just doing lots of traveling and you need a travel adapter. And it is detachable. So this is kind of cool. And you can plug this directly into the wall if you want. But what I do is I use the travel adapter part here, and this way I'm able to utilize the European plug, and I'm able to make my own extra USB charging station. A motion sensor light. The cabins get very dark at night, especially inside cabins, but even balcony cabins. Let's face it, it is literally like black outside. So it is quite dark. And the motion sensor light, it is magnetic, so it can go on the wall or on the ceiling. And this way, if somebody does get up at night and they go towards the bathroom, they do not stub their toe, because the bathroom is actually like lifted up by about 2 inches. So it is very possible at night. Poopery. Now, if this is your first cruise, you're going to want to know about poopery. Now, the truth about cruise cabin bathrooms is they are just not that well ventilated. So I think enough said. But the cool thing about poopery is it's not an air freshener. It is an air freshener, but it actually has like some science to it. You actually are supposed to spray it into the toilet before you go, and then it kind of works even better. Although, honestly, if somebody goes and you spray it after, it still does work. Trust me, I have found out. Now, the other thing to bring that is definitely a cruise essential is Downy Wrinkle Release, or whatever else you like to bring that can kind of take the wrinkles out of clothing. And that is because cruise ship cabins are not going to have an iron or a steamer in them, and you actually cannot bring this onto a cruise ship. So you definitely want to have just a little something to help to get those wrinkles out, and along with shower steam, that is going to help. All right, something else that's optional but really potentially very handy is a portable straw, and they actually sell these in a set of 4. So these are great even if you're putting together like a little gift for somebody else that's going on a cruise, or if you're doing a group cruise and you're looking for little things. So these are great. And most cruise ships are just not going to have any plastic straws anymore, right? Or maybe even potentially no straws or candy straws. I hate the candy straws. In any case, this is actually your straw. It does come with this little cleaner. And then you have your straw and you can take it with you. Anti-chafe bomb. Now, everybody is different, but this is something that a lot of people find. And by the way, men and women, this is, the ladies one, but there is a men's one as well. But a lot of people find that this potentially can be helpful. Portable hangers. Now, I also would say that these are very optional. You do not need to bring these with you, but they are quite small. And a lot of people find that in this way, when they bring their portable hangers with them, if you don't have a lot of hangers in your cabin, rather than having to wait and ask the cabin attendant, you can just bring your own. Cruise ducks. Now, if you're sailing on Carnival in particular, you are probably going to want to bring cruise ducks. Now, I actually found, I did bring these on Carnival. These are a few that I had left over, but I found on Amazon very inexpensive. They were selling the tags, the little rubber bands, and as well some pretty cute ducks, about 30 of them. You could even get smaller amounts if you want, but for a very good price. Now, something else that's optional is an over-the-door organizer. Now, personally, I do not use this, but if my kids were young, I think I definitely would. So if you are going on a cruise and you're maybe 2 parents and 2 or 3 children, it can be really handy to have your children's items, or maybe even the sunscreen and all of those different things just hanging there. Now, on some cruise ships, they're not going to want you to put that on your bathroom door, but instead you could use those magnet hooks and you could hang it on the wall, or even better, from the metal ceiling instead. A sweatshirt, or just something a little bit warm. And I think a lot of people forget about this on a Caribbean cruise. You think it's always going to be hot, but it is possible that the evening times do actually get sometimes a little bit chilly, a little bit breezy. So bring a cardigan, or even just a sweatshirt or a hoodie. Any of that is absolutely fine. And something else to bring that people forget are closed-toed shoes. Even if you think I'm going to live for the entire week in just flip-flops, or your kids are going to live for the week in Crocs. No, for some of the activities, you actually need to have closed-toed shoes. All right, something else that's optional, but I'm going to be bringing this on my cruise now for a specific reason, but it is a travel luggage scale. Now, it's electronic, very easy to use, and true story, what happened after my last cruise is I did not use it, and I was fine with the weight of my luggage going there, but when we were flying home, my luggage was actually overweight. Now, it wasn't the end of the world, but I actually did have to do the thing that I didn't want to do, which is actually take our luggage and switch things over right while we were at like the check-in counter. Not a great situation. So this time I am bringing this just to be sure. Crew thank you cards. Now, if you want to give your cabin attendant or somebody else a tip at the end of your cruise, especially if they've gone the extra mile, maybe you put your kids in the kids club and you want to write a little handwritten note. Something, by the way, that crew has told me before, some crew members, is they appreciate a handwritten note, especially because they are away for months on end. So if you have a few nice words to say, it is just a little extra special thing to do. But you don't have to buy these. If you want, you need to go to the dollar store. You can pick up some there as well. Now, I am going to leave the links to all of the items that I mentioned in this video down below in the description, as well as a pinned comment. And I will leave the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner as well. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know, did I forget anything that we should bring on a Caribbean cruise? Please let me know your favorite items down below in the comments. Bye for now and happy cruising.